Thank you so much for, being here in the Rebirth Sessions. And yeah, the Rebirth Sessions is about rebirth. It's not about rebirth. It's an actual possibility to go into the, experience of rebirth. And we tempt each other with all kinds of challenges in that sense to make that happen. And yeah, but what is actually rebirth then? How do you do that? We do rebirth sessions, but what is actually reborn then? Now you can see, like, well, in your humanness, you try to stay in the right place so that nothing too much happens and all of this. And in the discovery of who you truly are, it is like, no, there's no control in the first place. No, this is not about control or balancing the act of being human or something, or getting a better life as a human being. No, 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 no. No, in fact, this is going to stir up. It's like this is going to stir up the deepest passion in you. And this passion is very familiar to you. So it's like the passion that's within you is very, very much like known to you. But now it's going to be stirred up to a certain sense. And it's going to burn you as you know yourself. It's like this. It's like it's going to burn you up. It's literally like it will melt you. And not that that's a very terrible experience. If you surrender into it, there would be no problem with it. So what I'm sharing here is the idea of rebirth. It's like rebirth is really, in fact, allowing the passion of your being to literally melt you and melt your heart, melt your brain, melt your brain. So that's good to remember. So this goes like really in, well, it's interesting to take another look at it, because I'm not done with this here. What I'm trying to tell you is this: it's like the stubbornness of the human mind, the stubbornness of you as a human being, is that you're constantly trying to in fact defend yourself, and constantly looking for confirmation, for credit, for say, yeah, I did as well. Yeah, I'm in the spotlight. Yes, I want to. Yes. You confirm my existence. But then it is like, in your human experience of yourself, you don't doubt that others do that to you. So they say, well, you did a great job. You did fantastic. You're so great. I love you. It's fantastic what you do. And this becomes like, okay, you're an idol making something special, in fact. Always also hoping for some confirmation back. Like it's like an exchange and a compensation is what I'm saying. It's like a compensation. I do this great thing, you acknowledge me, and I think you're great too. Something like this. This is like the human way of response. Now that is really interesting, because in fact, getting in touch with this deep passion for living that is actually taking you over in your awakening, impulses are coming up, like suddenly there's like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, wow, that's so intense, or so, wow. And this, and we said this before, is like this will stir something up in your whole system, and that makes you in fact sweat it out and in fact burn it up. So that's why music is so very helpful in terms of using up old ideas, letting them literally burn up, by you allowing that to occur. It's like you will not get this by sitting still just and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. No. This is an active accomplishment, you could say, in relinquishment. So that's really important to remember. So it's like, it's not about being quiet in the sense of always choosing for that. It's like, no, no, no. It's allowing not to take control in a certain sense about what is going to happen. Like that will open up an adventure within you, in which you see that you're going beyond your fear, because the fear would always control it, would always encapsulate your experience. But now this is going to be, say, melted down, you could say, and in fact you lose control over what is going to happen, realizing that you're not in control in the first place. Now that is the part where we're talking about, where rebirth takes place. And that's a gut feel, that's a gut related feeling that makes you sweat and wake up in the middle of the night, not knowing if you're doing the right thing, because you're suddenly in total fear. Or you dream about death in a way that you never had before. You feel that as if you were, I had these almost like nightmares, you could say, or definitely nightmares, where I woke up on top of, I don't know, thousands of skulls, and thinking that there was a place for me there, thinking I was part of that. So it's like these deep gut feelings, these deep death experiences, these deep experiences where the passion of your living suddenly is being, say, called in or stirred up in a way that you had no idea about before. Here's rebirth taking place. Well, great. And does it need to be that intense? Yes, it will be that intense. Yes, it is that intense. So it's like that your whole idea of self-control will be shredded in a sense, in your experience of yourself. It will be shredded, it will be torn into pieces. And of course this is your decision to let that occur, and it doesn't need to be painful or any of those things, but for sure it is an experience that you can't deny, and it will be in your awareness when you undergo it, of course. So that's really lovely. So to give an example, and we're going to take a look at that too with the meditation, but to give an example is that you have been looking with all your experiences, whether they were spiritual, whether they were human experiences, you were always looking for giving it a spot, in fact, giving it a place within your definition of yourself. So am I doing the right thing? Am I far enough along the spiritual path? Am I, like in your evaluation of yourself, you try to organize it, to order your thoughts in a certain way so that you can feel good about yourself, or thinking that you're doing the right thing, or thinking that you're doing the wrong thing, but you're busy with it. Now this is all occupation of mind that is not helpful at all. It's in fact still a denial. And that's just an old habit, of course. Now here in the rebirth procedure, you could say, we help you, that is what is given. It's like continuously is given. It's like, don't look for it in the dream. Don't look for accomplishment in the dream. Don't try to bring it back into this dream. You experience a deep sense of love. Don't try to connect it to a person, situation, or an event. No, it has nothing to do with that. No, this is happening in you. It's between God and you. When that takes place, when you are aligning with that in yourself, say, if you are aligning with the love of God within you, that will communicate. So in other words, the communication never takes place here between humans, you could say, never takes place. Because what is the origin of the communication between human beings? Projection. You project ideas. And you say like, well, no, I'm pretty conscious of that. I don't do that. And then it's like, okay, so what are you perceiving? You're perceiving someone else. Well, that is already a judgment, because there is nobody else. Like in the recognition of our oneness with God, with every part, every aspect of creation, you are communicating with all of that. So there is no other thing. No, communication is not a two-way thing. Communication is communication as one. So if you think you're having a good conversation with someone, then in fact you're mistaken. That would be impossible, because communication doesn't need a conversation. So it doesn't exclude it either. It's not that I'm saying you shouldn't talk to anyone anymore. It's more like be conscious of the fact that in fact in the three-dimensional experience of a conversation, literally nothing is occurring. So don't expect anything to come from that, even though temporarily it might look like something, but in fact it isn't. Now, how is that going to help you? Well, this is the next part. In fact, we come back to this all the time when we say meet in the Voice from Heaven meetings, because it is completely pointed at the holy instant. Now, what is a holy instant? A holy instant is a moment of communication with your Creator, and that is the only communication that really exists. In that you communicate as one. In other words, you communicate with every aspect of creation. Now that becomes your one goal. In fact, that's what you're doing. That will become your purpose if it isn't already. So our meditation today has everything to do with this. Now, if you want to make your life an adventure, like the title of it was for today, you want to make your life an adventure, and say, go from this communication to that communication, like as the only communication that really takes place, and disappear into the light that is given into that. Wherever you are, in whatever situation you find yourself, in fact, that is a continuous thing that can come back to you. Like you start to expand that holy instant until it covers everything. Like the only thing that is really happening is you in communication with your Creator. You want to do that. You want to be conscious of that all the time, because literally if you don't do that, you could say you step into a three-dimensional experience of darkness. That is what is occurring. That's why that doesn't never feel good. It always feels like you're waiting for the relief, like, oh my God, it's so painful. Oh no, I really don't want it. Oh, it's too much. It's this, it's that, and all of that. So here, so you learn, in fact, to look openly, but with disinterest to this world. It's like it's not, it's like, no, it is not going to give you what you expected it to give in the first place. So it's nothing in itself. And if you don't want to give it meaning, it will have no meaning for you. So that it becomes like a disinterest. That's why we say, like, you don't really have to make a choice in the matter, because there is no choice to make if you recognize what this is, this three-dimensional communication, and the possibility, and in fact the only reality of you is in four-dimensional communication that takes place, that includes everything. So why could you possibly want something else too? That's where we come to. So anyway, the meditation that I share today with you has everything to do with that. The holy instant does not replace the need for learning, for the Holy Spirit must not leave you as your teacher until the holy instant has extended far beyond time. For a teaching assignment such as this, he must use everything in this world for your release. he must side with every sign or token of your willingness to learn of him what truth must be. He is swift to utilize whatever you offer him on behalf of this. His concern and care for you are limitless. In the face of your fear of forgiveness, which he perceives as clearly as he knows forgiveness is release, he will teach you to remember always that forgiveness is not loss, but your salvation, and that in complete forgiveness, in which you recognize that there is nothing to forgive, you are absolved completely. Let us join together in making the holy instant all that there is, by desiring that it be all that there is. God's Son has such great need of your willingness to strive for this, that you cannot conceive of need so great. Behold the only need that God and his Son share, and will to meet together. You are not alone in this. The will of your creations call to you to share your will with them. Turn then in peace from guilt to God and them. Relate only with what will never leave you, and what you cannot leave.
Avec ce qui ne te quittera jamais. L'instant saint ne remplace pas le besoin d'apprendre, car le Saint-Esprit ne doit pas nous quitter en tant que votre enseignant, jusqu'à ce que l'instant saint se soit étendu bien au-delà du temps. Pour une mission d'enseignement comme la sienne, il doit tout utiliser dans ce monde. Pour votre libération, il doit se ranger du côté de chaque signe ou signe de votre volonté, d'apprendre de lui ce que doit être la vérité. Il est prompt à utiliser tout ce que vous lui offrez à cette fin. Et sa préoccupation et son attention pour nous sont illimitées. Face à votre peur du pardon, qu'il perçoit aussi clairement qu'il sait que le pardon est une libération, il vous apprendra à toujours vous rappeler que le pardon n'est pas une perte, mais votre salut, et cela dans le pardon complet, dans lequel vous reconnaissez qu'il n'y a rien à pardonner. Vous êtes complètement absous. Unissons-nous pour faire de l'instant sacré tout ce qui existe, en désirant qu'il soit tout ce qui existe. Le Fils de Dieu a tellement besoin de votre volonté de lutter pour cela que vous ne pouvez pas concevoir un besoin si grand. Voyez le seul besoin que Dieu et son Fils partagent et souhaitent se rencontrer. Vous n'êtes pas seul dans ce cas. La volonté de votre création vous appelle pour partager votre volonté avec elle. Tournez-vous donc en paix de la culpabilité vers Dieu et vers eux. Reliez-vous uniquement à ce qui ne vous quittera jamais et à ce que vous ne pouvez pas quitter.
So in this stillness and recognition, something happens. So it's like the opportunity that is given all the time is in fact you being willing. This is what it's shared in the meditation too. You being willing to say be confronted or be invited by the alternative. That means how many times during the day, or whenever you're in a situation, how willing are you to pick up a book and start reading a couple of lines, or to bring you back into, oh yeah, wait a minute. None of this is so. It's like all of this, and then all of this is being used, in fact, to come to the expansion of the holy instant. That the expansion of you being in an experience of your conscious connectedness with your creator. Now this sounds theoretical when I say it like this, but in fact it's very practical. It's like continuously, and this, the Holy Spirit, that is your right mind, in fact, takes any kind of degree of willingness of you, as you know yourself as a human being, for instance. It's like it takes every little sign that you give, that you're willing to say be confronted or be invited by the alternative. And that can mean that when you sit in your car, when you're in traffic, when you're in who knows where you are, that you in fact ask for it. Ask for help. God, help. I don't know. Help, help, help. God, I recognize myself to do that, like continuously when I'm so-called outside, like God, like continuously asking for the experience. Like, no, I find myself here in this three-dimensional thing that I'm seem to bicycle through, or driving through, or walking through, and this is not it. This is not it. So where's my salvation? What is there to forgive? What is there? You know, it's like continuously you invite that in. And like it says in the meditation, it's like the Holy Spirit takes any sign that you give, anything, any occasion. Like literally your whole day is designed around the idea of you coming to recognize your truth, the truth about yourself. Every situation is set up for it, not as a test, but as a possibility for you, an invitation to remember that the communication is unbroken, that it is taking place between your creator and you. And when you recognize that, you're communicating with everyone. And that is, you can't believe that. As a human being, you like to be in discussion, in communication with others, trying to get some form of recognition or confirmation. Like, well, to be a separate identity is a lot of work. It needs confirmation continuously, otherwise it would melt and dissolve. It would not be sustained, it would fall apart like a card house. So you invest in it in order to keep it up, so to speak, but there's no reason for you to do that. So any situation that you're in is in fact to do the opposite. Now, here is where we enter into the adventure of life. In fact, the adventure of life has everything to do with being willing to let this idea that you hold, or that you have about your life, to let it go and let it be replaced by a moment of communication. Now you're going to come to the place where you constantly do that, and come into the recognition of that, and feeling the joy of that, and seeing that, wow, I can't believe, like, sometimes I need to declare it, I need to express it, I need to say it, I need to reformulate my goals, for instance. I need to take another look at the situation that I find myself in. If I say I still have a limited purpose in what is occurring, then that will not be the release of my identity. So this is what I say. You are invited, in fact, to reformulate your declaration. Like, what was the purpose of this? What is the purpose of any kind of situation that I'm in? What is the purpose of it? do I think it is the purpose that I've given it in terms of a three-dimensional experience of myself? I will keep rotating and say, I will keep redigesting the situation. Now here, this can be easily reformulated by giving it, a different purpose. Like any situation that I'm in, I'll say, desiring to let that come to me as a possibility for communication with my Creator. Then I know that the situation is used well. Now that is my liberation, in fact. That sets me free on a continuing basis. And as a human being, you try to avoid that. You try to, say, manipulate it, or say, turn it into your definition of what the purpose should be of a certain situation. Like, how can you expect yourself to do differently if you don't know who you are? So, and knowing who you are is everything to do with remembering your source, right? So remembering your source confirms continuously to you who you are. You're the effect of the source. You're not source itself. You're the effect of the source. Now that gives clarity. If I'm looking for confirmation somewhere, I apparently need it to be confirmed what I don't even believe myself to be. Otherwise, why would I look for confirmation? So that's a good one, isn't it? It's like anything that is asking for confirmation doesn't believe that it is what it truly is. So its image of itself must be an illusion. So yeah, if you're tired and if you get sick of all the things that are going on in your life, you're probably doing a lot of that, trying to look for confirmation outside of yourself for what you don't even want yourself to be, but have accepted as yourself. And this is a substitute. What we looked at before is like it is like inviting a substitute for what is already given you. Why would you do that? In your recognition of your totality, what else can you possibly need? Nothing. So this is where the holy instant then is for. Like, we call it the holy instant because it's like the language of A Course in Miracles, but in fact it is communion with God. Joel would say it, like in the infinite way, you say communion with God, but you invite that in. So it's a continuing practice in that sense, but also a continuing action of mind, not to fall into looking for a substitute, looking for confirmation, looking for being at awe of someone or something. Like, no, that's not the way. It's like to come to remember your equality with everyone. You can only go one way, and that is remembering your true communication. So this, I had to share this to you, and I made a little sheet of that too. Maybe I share that too. Just the holy relationship. We're talking about the holy relationship is between you and God. It is not between two people. No, the holy relationship is between you and God. Between two people is no communication possible, in fact. It's like there's no communication possible. Only if they, in that time, are in a holy instant, you could say. If you remember that, if you remember you're communicating with God, you come into an active experience of that, then you communicate with every aspect of creation. So it's never with a specific person in that sense. Only a projection of limited idea is going on between two people. You could say continuously the ideas that you hold about yourself, you see reflected in the other, and it's responding to you in a way that's desirable to you or not. So if it's desirable, you probably like the person, and if it's not desirable, I make this very black and white here, but that's one way to get it clear. So it's like temporarily it looks like, oh yeah, we're doing great, wonderful. And up to the moment that it shifts into, well, I didn't ask for that. No. You got to play the game that I'm playing, otherwise this does not work. See, that kind of problems you don't have in your holy relationship. Holy instant is a moment of communication with God. Well, communion. In your holy relationship with God, you communicate with your brother at the same time. So there's always, like, and this is the beautiful thing about it, it's like there's always your heart, your love connected to it. And it's like, well, that is the doorway, you could say. Your love for God is the doorway to coming into an holy relationship, in a holy instant. And that's so lovely. It's like, yeah, if I talk about it, it is, I know it's not that, but it's, you know what I'm saying if you recognize yourself to be in a holy instant. It's like, that makes perfect sense. Here we are. We open ourselves up. So I'm loving God above all else. Now what is going to happen? In fact, I'm opening up my healing consciousness. I allow a rebirth to take place within me. I drop all my ideas about control, all my ideas about this world, about my brother. I come into a total forgiveness, as it said in the meditation too. It's a moment of total forgiveness, realizing that there's literally nothing to forgive. Now, how could that ever be? Like, what do you mean? There's nothing to forgive? Like, well, if you see it like this is all taking place. An holy instant is happening right now. It's like that has nothing to do with what is over. So whatever you think happened a moment ago, even though it was a projection of your own limited ideas, you ask for the situation for a very specific reason. And in your humanness, you ask for the situation to get even, in fact, to attack your brother. But coming into our spiritual awakening, you start to see like, oh yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, no. Now I have a tendency now to attack my brother, but I start to come to the knowledge, in fact, that I'm doing this to myself. Nobody is attacking me. Now, except for that, there's also something like, no, there's no continuation in time either. There's no link to the past. No, in this instant, everything is given me. It has nothing to do with anything except the totality of this moment. In that, I'm communicating with my Creator. And nothing else, and not more than that. Because that more, that's the part that doesn't exist. So that more, I don't have to forgive. Now this is the whole loop, you could say, of thought that is related to the idea of a total forgiveness. So the practice being, let the past go, stay right here, love God with all of your heart, and see what happens. Like, this is not under your conscious control. So lose control over the fact that you think that now something needs to come to you because you're doing the right thing. It's like, no. Your willingness brings you only to the place where you become open to receive. Now God can take his step, you could say. Your Creator knows his way to you. All right, so I spitted it out a little bit, like I worked this out a little bit because I really thought that this is such an essential part in coming to the place where the adventure of your life takes place, where you really feel deeply connected with Source and all the intensities that go with that and all the love that is coming to you in that.